Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and we are on the very last episode of our small business series. May is Small Business Month. I'm a small business owner. I know a lot of you are as well. So if you are a service-based business or professional, this month has been all about you and for you. If you missed some of the previous episodes, go back. You can listen to them, watch them on YouTube. So we had 190, and that was the fastest way to 500K. Episode 191 was how to package and position your offers. Episode 192 was how to price your offers, and that was with our special guest, Jaquette Timmons. And today, episode 193, we are talking about how to find your best clients. If you listened to episode 190, you know that this actually came about from questions that I received from women at the Joy in the Journey retreat at Miraval in February of this year. And they put some great business questions on some index cards. And this is another example today. So the question was actually someone who is already an expert. She's very well established in her field, but she's thinking of starting a new company. And so the question was, how do you go find clients when you're just starting out? How do you go find clients when you're just starting out? And that's a great question, but I also wanted to broaden it because even if you've been doing this for 10 years, you're always looking for more clients. And so the answer is basically the same. And we're also always looking for better clients. Like that's part of the business process, is constantly reviewing and auditing. What am I doing? How am I serving? Who am I serving? Why am I serving? In what capacities? So this is a great exercise for all of us. And I'm really, really excited to share today. Before we get into that though, I want to talk about Growth Accelerator really quickly, because we start next Tuesday, a week from today, June 4th, and enrollment closes this Friday, May 31st. So depending on when you are listening, the time may have passed. You'll know if you go to the website and it says registration closed. But for some of you, you might be hearing this for the first time, or you've been thinking about it, but you just keep putting it off. And I'm just here to say the time is now. If you are considering joining, go, hit pause, go sign up. It is a 6-week group coaching cohort. It is limited to 24 people. We are going to be working on streamlining your offers and your personal branding and your messaging and your marketing and your sales so that you are leaning into your strengths. And again, it is all streamlined. It makes it not only easier for your clients to come to you and say yes, but it makes it easier for you to market and sell and actually onboard and deliver exceptional services. So we actually work with the business assets you have. You are going to come to this program online via Zoom where we are in breakout sessions. We are doing training. It's very strategic feedback that you are getting related to what you already have. So we're going to be looking at your website. We're going to be looking at bios. We're going to be looking at offers, all of that languaging. We're going to be looking at it. We're going to be looking at what you're doing so that you're not starting from scratch. You are simply improving what you already have. And it allows you to take what we're working on and actually see it in real time. I'm a firm believer in experiential learning and being able to actually apply a concept. So that is what we are going to be doing. So go check it out, heatherjoyhubbard.com/growth accelerator. We will put a link in the show notes as well. But I wanted to bring it up, get it out of the way. in case we're really close to that deadline for you when you are listening or watching. All right, clients. How do we find the best clients? I actually want to break this down. So, the first part I want to do is how do you find clients if you're just starting out? And this is also the same concept for if you're starting in a new area or you have a new offer or service that may not be the best fit for your current clients. Then we're going to do a little bit more with advanced. So you've already got some clients, but how do you hone that even more so that you are attracting the very best? Okay? All right. So you're just starting out. You have a brand new business, brand new service. How do you find clients? Well, you already know a ton of people. This is what I think a lot of us forget. Most of us have a lot of connections. We just don't know how they are connected. And here's what I mean by that. There are a lot of people in your life, in your career, that may know someone who is the perfect fit. Now, you might be thinking, well, they are not a good fit, so you don't even think to tell them. But this is such a small world. I mean, I know there's a lot of people on it, but it's a small world. And when you start talking about professional services, when you start talking about service-based businesses, it gets even smaller. The people who can afford you, that is not the vast majority of the population. So you really are only talking to a select few. So the best way to find your first clients is to tell anyone and everyone, regardless of whether they will listen, about what you're doing. And this is part of why you really have to have a clear message, and you really have to be able to explain to someone what it is you're doing and who it is you're serving. Because if that is not clear, they will never remember you. They'll never think, oh, here's someone that I should tell them. Like, I should tell them this new business has started. Like, I should tell them this person is amazing. They should go check them out. Because if what you're saying is so generic and includes a million different people, they're not going to think of anyone. We actually have a much easier time thinking of a few people than thinking of a ton of people. Not to mention, it's much easier to reach out to one person and say, hey, I was thinking of you, as opposed to sending out an email to all of their family and friends. Right? Like, that's not what we do. That's not what we do. If I have a friend who is starting a business, I am not going to reach out to everyone I know and tell them about it. Could I post something on social to give them, some praise? Absolutely. But let me ask you this. When you see a post that someone else has posted that's like, oh, I have a friend that started this business, do you click? If it is not specific or relevant to you, probably not. And it might be specific and relevant to you, but you don't know this person and you got a lot on your plate and it's just not that interesting. So you do have to be able to specify who it is you're working with. So if you don't really have the positioning down, the messaging, the packaging, all of that, it's going to be really, really hard for anyone to send you business. Okay, so get your house in order. And then when you got it super clear, super narrow, let anyone and everyone you know what you're doing, because they may know someone. And you may think there's no way they know. I'm telling you, they do. This is how I started my business. And anytime I work with clients when they're starting a new business, it's what I always tell them to do. And people don't want to do it because sometimes it's like, well, that just made that real. Sometimes we like to hide behind the idea more than actually just go out and put it out in front of the world, because then it's like, well, what if I fail? Everyone knows I failed. Please, please. You are in business. If you're going to do this, you got to be willing to put yourself out there. If you're not willing to promote your work, no one else is going to either. Also, people don't pay that much attention. So it is fine. And it's okay to fail forward. Businesses fail all the time. And so if you fail in a certain area, it's no big deal because you're going to keep working on it until you figure it out. You're going to keep going after it and it's going to work. So you got to go out there, put yourself out there. When I started, and this was back in when I started this business, it was 2014. And that was really before things were easy. I mean, things were not automated online. There weren't a lot of software options. But I don't even know if that company exists anymore, but it was like a simple one pager. It was like a little block that said, sign up for my newsletter and I'm going to do a goal setting workshop at the end of the year. And I sent it out to anyone and everyone I knew. And I had like 200 people sign up. Sometimes it was people that I sent it out to. Other times they sent it on. I have clients that I work with to this day who told me someone forwarded them that initial thing that said, oh, Heather was a lawyer. She has started a personal and professional development company. She's really great with strategy and helping you achieve your goals. And it's also very, holistic about success and satisfaction so you don't burn out. And she was like, so I signed up because, I could use that. And she didn't know me, but she knew my friend. And because my friend was able to say, here's who this person is, and here's what they're offering, and here's how you can connect with them. Make it super easy for them to either go ahead and hire you or connect with you. And people will follow along. And it will lead to business, and not just business, but repeat business. The exact person I'm thinking of, like we have now known each other and worked together for 10 years. And that is amazing because someone that was an acquaintance of mine forwarded along. And I'll be honest, she has told me who the acquaintance was that sent it to her, and I can't really tell you who that is. I'm sure I met her at some point, which is why she was kind of like in my Rolodex. But this is why when I say send it to anyone and everyone, I literally mean anyone and everyone. If they are connected to you in any way, if you've met them at any point over the years, even if you don't really remember who they are, send it out to them. I cannot stress that enough. That's why I'm spending so much time on it. Okay. Number two, you want to go to where the people that are going to work with you, where they're hanging out. And it's still not quite what it was pre-COVID, but it's coming back. And that is in-person conferences and events. So if there is a conference, if there is an association, if there is a company or a leader or a coach who attracts the kind of people you want to work with, and they're all going to be gathering in a room somewhere, you want to do that research, find them, and then put that on your calendar and make that a business development marketing expense to go and meet people and connect with people. That doesn't mean you have to be a vendor. It doesn't mean you have to be selling your stuff there. It's all about building relationships. It's about building connections. And when you meet people and they say, what do you do? And you can give them a very clear answer that is very strategic and honed in, then they'll either identify, oh, I could work with you, or they'll know of someone perhaps even in the room or outside of the room who would be a perfect fit, and they can make that introduction. So much of my business over the years has been generated from those in-person connections and building relationships. And it's not always exactly with them, but it is with the people that they know as well. So again, you have to remember that we all have a lot of connections, and the key is to get in front of as many people as possible that are the right fit for you. So do that research and go get in those groups. Others are collaborators. So these people might be offering the exact same thing that you do, or they might be kind of complementary or tangential. So you might be serving the same kind of client. If they have a podcast, if they have a blog, if they are doing anything on a regular basis that is within that community, then it is really, really smart for you to try to get on their podcasts. It is really smart for you to try to speak at their events for free. I am a huge proponent of speaking for a fee if you are a professional speaker. If you are not necessarily a professional speaker, but you speak, right, as part of like your marketing, then you just want to be really strategic in the way that you speak. And there are also reasons why, even if you speak for a fee, that you might speak for free. What that would be a whole episode. So I don't want to dig too much into that. But just know that when you're marketing and you're getting into a specific audience that you think is either going to be a good potential client or have contacts with your potential client, then that is a great place to go and get in front of. Now, I highly encourage you to not just go out there pitching to people because they don't know you. I highly encourage you to build a relationship. Get to know them. Offer value to them. Invite them to your stuff. Give them things for free, especially if they're collaborators and peers. Make connections for them. Promote their stuff. Give them shout outs on social media. And don't do it just for the sake of like checking boxes, because they're going to know. They're going to know. I always know like who shows up and then they disappear. Like they're there just, it's just transactional for them and it's obvious. Truly build that relationship and make it a win-win for you and them. And then last is social media and advertising. So social media can be a great way to build your audience. But especially now, between algorithms and trying to attract new people, unless you are trying to be an influencer and go viral all the time, social media is not the way to attract clients from the get-go. Can it happen? Yes. And ads can do that even better. But the three things that I've mentioned already, they're going to be far more effective and take less time. So a lot of times social media is just about having a presence. It is about being visible. It is about connecting with people that you already know. It's letting them know what's going on in your world. It lets you stay top of mind. But when you're talking about attracting clients, this really isn't where you should be spending your time. And I see so many people spend so much time on social media when that's just not the best way, especially if you're just starting out. Ads. That's a whole thing too. I've got someone that's going to be coming on, and I've done some prior ones on ads, but ads are always changing. If you have the funds, it is a great way to do it, but you really need to know what you're doing. Either hire someone to do it for you or take the training and really dig in. Don't just because you can easily post an ad on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn doesn't mean you should be doing that. It does take strategy in order for it to be effective. Okay. So let's talk about when you already have a service, you already have a client base, but you're wanting to attract more people. You're wanting to attract more people. One of the things that you can do is just go back and reconnect with people who have already been in your orbit. Go back to when you first started your business. Go back to what I just said related to when you reach out to anyone and everyone. Especially with COVID, and there's just so much noise. And just know that there is always noise. And so when people don't respond, it is not personal. If you're going to be a business owner, you cannot take this stuff personally. You might, but you got to work through that. You need to hire a coach or a therapist to help you work through that, because it is never personal. It is simply about being willing to take that microphone, that megaphone, and yell to the world on a regular basis. Here is what I do, and I'm awesome at what I do, and I can help you with what I do. And doing it in a way, like, some people might get annoyed, and like, okay, MLM stuff, right? Like, we've all experienced where people direct message or email and want to send you the stuff to sell you the product. That's not what I'm talking about when I say reach out to anyone and everyone. The better way to approach that, and this would be for MLM too, is, again, you can reach out to anyone and everyone. But to me, this really is more of a blast and not personal, because it, like, at least at the beginning, like, it just, there's not as much pressure for the person to respond. And sometimes when people feel pressured, they freeze. So it's just saying, hey, I'm doing this new thing. And if you're interested, here's how you can stay connected with me. Or if you know someone who could benefit, would you please pass this along? And again, you make it super easy. So whether it's a newsletter list, whether it's a text messaging list, whether it's just your website, social media, whatever it is. Even those of us who have been around a long time, people forget what we do. And more importantly, we're just not top of mind. We're just not top of mind. Someone else may be top of mind. So, you know, if you've not done anything like that in a long time, it's totally okay to reach back out and say, hey, you know, it's my 5-year, 3-year, 10-year business anniversary, and some things have evolved and changed. And so I'm super proud of what I've built and how many people I've helped. And I just wanted to let you know, as someone, you know, who has been in, you know, my community, my network over the years, that this is what I'm up to. And if you know of anyone who could benefit, if you would please, you know, pass along this information, I would greatly benefit. I would greatly appreciate it. And then, like, you can say, and feel free to let me know what you're up to as well. And you might start conversations again. Or someone might be like, oh, I actually was thinking of that, or I know someone who needed that. And they'll just pass it along, right? And others won't do anything with it, but you reminded them what you do. So that is a great way to get back in front of people. In terms of finding your best clients, your favorite clients, and this is really for a newbie or for those of us who have been around forever and a day, is really to identify who we think we enjoy working with the most. Now, if you've been in business for a while, you should be able to answer this question much better and far easier than someone who just started their business, because sometimes you don't know until you work with people and then you're like, yikes. Now, our brains do have this bias with patterns where we are constantly trying to connect dots. And so we'll have one bad experience. And then, like we say, that applies to everyone, and it may or may not be the case. And so sometimes you got to, like, see that more than once before you know that that's really not it. But it's also okay to just keep leaning into what it is, right? So focusing on the positive, focusing on your absolute favorite clients. So when you're just starting out, you just have to imagine what you think that will be. But if you truly have been working for a while, you might have some patterns. And sometimes it doesn't always make sense. Like, you wish you knew, like, you wish you could label someone on the front end, but you necessarily, like, you can't always do that. A lot of times it's not necessarily what they do necessarily, or their gender or their revenue range. It's just their personality. And that's okay to know. That's okay to know. And so the more you know that, the more you can speak to that, the more that you can only have offers that are more likely to attract those people than other people. When I first started out, because when we first start out, we're always willing to do more than when we've been in business for a while, right? And because you just need money in the door. But you learn lessons the hard way, which is good. You still got to learn them. And then you quickly start pivoting. Hopefully, this is what's going to give you longevity and, more important, satisfaction. So early on in the business, I used to say that I worked really well with difficult people. And it's true. It's true. When I was in law firms, I could often get along with the most difficult people. But yeah, it didn't mean they didn't drive me crazy, but I could deal with them. I wouldn't just like lose it. I wouldn't say, I'm not working with them. And in some ways, I took great pride in that. And in other ways, that is just like straight up messed up. It's a little, it goes back to some codependency stuff and like saving people and complete nonsense. But I said I can work with really difficult people. And I knew that a lot of coaches and consultants out there did not like to work with difficult people. And so I was like, this will be an easy niche. But what I learned pretty quickly was the difficult people don't sign up to work with you on their own. The difficult people come to you because their companies are forcing them to work with someone to try to rehabilitate them for their bad behavior. And after a few of those clients, I was not just like, I need to charge more money. I was like, I never want to work with these people again. This is part of why I left. What in the world am I doing? So sometimes we think, oh, I do this well, or I like this kind of person. And then we realize that's actually not true. It's just an old pattern and it's unhealthy and we're going to break that. So look, being a business owner, you need a therapist and you need a coach, and if you're not doing your own internal work, you're going to struggle, because let me tell you, all of your bad patterns and habits and thoughts will 100% show up in your business. So learning to work with people and attract people who appreciate you, who are grateful for you, who are kind and courteous to you, who value you. If that's not what you're used to, you might subconsciously not actually go after them. And so you have to get really, really conscious about making sure that you are attracting that kind of person and not talking to the people who are super demanding and super high maintenance and complain all the time and are never happy and just, like you name your thing, right? And so you'll figure that out over time. And so what you start to do with your messaging, your packaging, your positioning, your messaging, is you get super, super clear in that description of who you work best with and why you're working with them. You may be offering the exact same service as before, but it's just the positioning that's different. We talked about this 2 weeks ago with how you're helping someone. So when you're talking about the benefits, when you talk about what they're going to get out of it, when you talk about their pain points and their worries and their fears, clients who might be a pain in the ass versus clients who are amazing probably think and talk about those issues in very different ways. And when you start to realize that, you can start to craft your message so that it pushes away the people, or it tries to push away the people who you don't actually want to work with, So that's how you find your initial clients, and that's how you find your best clients. You constantly market, you constantly promote, and you get as crystal clear as you can with your positioning and your messaging so that others know exactly who you serve and how you serve, and they can remember you and refer you work. All right, that's it. We have wrapped up Small Business Month. Thank you so much for listening and watching all month long. I'm super excited to work with the next group of Growth Accelerator. If you're interested, go check it out. Sign up. I'd love to work with you. Again, heatherjoyhubbard.com/growth accelerator. And if now is not the time, just keep listening, watching, Hustle and Flow. I got a lot more episodes coming out. Comes every week on Tuesdays. You can also sign up for my newsletter. I send emails every single week letting you know what's going on with the podcast, as well as always first dibs on new programs. And that is heatherjoyhubbard.com/subscribe. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after-show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.